Eco's effort was chalked off. Has to give the goal. Oh, no. Before a familiar face fumbled one in. FA Cup action, limited League One football yesterday. A standout result is Morecambe's 5-star win against Bristol Rovers. And as a result of Saturday afternoon's games, Pompey slipped to 11th within 6 points of the playoffs. Thanks for joining us for another hour of Pompey debate and discussion here on 4-0 Sunday Live. Hello there, good evening everybody. Welcome back to 4-0 Sunday Live. It's just gone 7 o'clock. Your Sunday night has begun with us alongside these wonderful gentlemen. A very good evening to you all. Reese is here, Mike and Brendan are here. Brendan wasn't in the pre-match preamble, but he's magically appeared just in time to go live. Aaron, Mr. Fish Tank is back, and Jake joins us. Oh, am I still saying from the Stacey West podcast for now, aren't we?
For now, for legal reasons, yeah.
For legal reasons, we're still saying from the Stacey West podcast. There's very exciting plans in store, which we might be able to get into if we can, Jake, with your blessing later on. Welcome as well to you. Graham's here. He said Massinio looks like a decent prospect of a manager. Good luck for the rest of the season. Thank you for that, Graham. Charlie, the big man, is here. He's in. Ollie Clark's here too. Good evening to Dan and good evening to Tazkev PFC. And good evening to Ashi Bashi as well, who joins us here. And Aaron, good evening to you too, mate. And seeing as your comments on the screen, we'll say a very big welcome. And he's just about made it, everybody. Do you want to briefly tell us about your weekend, Aaron, before we get into the nitty gritty? Or maybe not. Maybe that's a pre-match show chat for the
week. I think so. Yeah.
We'll leave it there. He got drunk.
He got excited, didn't he?
I missed the game.
I missed the game. Excited. Good evening to Jack as well, and Pete Tarrant is here too. Biley has said, after watching Wrexham Sheffield United, I can't help but wish Ryan Reynolds bought Pompey. That is passion, and what a watch that was as well. And there is no denying that there was passion. Good evening to 154 people who join us across YouTube and Facebook. It's lovely to have you with us this evening. As always, we're here for your enjoyment for the next hour or so. This is 4-0 Sunday Live. If you've never seen 4-0 Sunday Live before, then first of all, welcome. A very good evening to you, and thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. If you have, then you will know that this is the place where we spend the next hour or so chatting about all things Pompey and the wider footballing world too. Reese, we'll start with you, as we always do. Overall, a positive 10 days under John Massinio, with close reference to yesterday. How would you assess the early stages of his time in charge?
Well, obviously 6 points from a possible 9. So obviously on reflection, that's a fantastic start, really, especially for a new coach coming into a position. And when I say a new coach, obviously you normally naturally feel a new coach coming in has the experience of other EFL games and things behind them, but he had none. So obviously that's a fantastic start from my eyes. And I think a reflection from the first 2 games, we didn't really put a foot wrong. Obviously the start of the Exeter game was a bit cagey, bit similar to the football we've been playing earlier in the season. But I must admit, I didn't really feel troubled by the Fleetwood game at all throughout the 90 minutes. 2 clean sheets in the first 2 games. And then obviously with Peterborough yesterday, on reflection, there's confidence to take away from it. There's positives from the second half. And obviously there's still some errors, from the first half when we conceded 2 goals. But moving forward, there's a lot to be positive about in the first 3 games of his tenure.
Dan said 2 points a match average per game will do for me. And Dan, I did see that comment flash up on my phone earlier, mate, and I will get back to it as soon as I possibly can, as you know. We'll focus the first little part of our conversation on the Fleetwood game, if we may, which is perfect, gentlemen, to come next to is Brendan, who was there right by my side for that one. Our conversation will obviously focus a lot on Peterborough tonight, mate, but we shouldn't lose sight of a solid 2-0 win, which could have been another side it could have been another scoreline had our response to going down to 10 men been slightly different. What did you make of Tuesday night as a whole?
Tuesday night, we dominated the game, really. I think Fleetwood never really got a foothold in it. I think from the first whistle, I think there was a slight 10 minutes where we might have dropped off a bit, but all in all, it was all Pompey. I think even when we dropped down to 10 men, I thought maybe in that run of games we had where we hadn't had a win, I think if we got a red card being 1-0 up in those games, I reckon we would have either drawn or maybe lost it. Joe Morrell's such a pivotal part of our team, and that was evident yesterday as well. You missed Joe Morrell. You missed that ball player in the middle of the park. But about Fleetwood as well, yeah, 2 good goals. Good build from Curtis and Morrell to then set up Bishop, and here Towler's header saved by the keeper, and then tapped in by Bishop. You know, not pretty, but you got to be there to put it in, and that's what Bishop brought. Sorry, Piggott brought. Night was brilliant, and seeing Swanson go over to the fans here was incredible. You know, it was such a good atmosphere going as well. You know, only what was it, 300 Pompey fans, 360 Pompey fans roughly. Yeah, and it sounded like there was 5,000 under that little roof. Yeah, lots of positives to take from that game. So many positives, and a win definitely. 3 points away from home with 10 men is incredible.
And Jake, we can't mention Fleetwood without mentioning our good friend Benjamin, who we know is not very well at the minute. He's in a much better state and place than he was when we were first chatting about how concerned we were. That's good to hear. And another thing that he would have been very clear to make clear to us is that Fleetwood is no easy place to go, and Pompey have done pretty well to come out with a 2-0 win. Yeah,
Fleetwood are actually a really good side this year. If you look at the difference, they're already nearly at the points total that they were at the end of last season. Granted, they only got 40 points last year. Somehow stayed up. A bit of a miracle that me and Ben have a joke about. But Scott Brown's drilled them really well. I think defensively they're a lot better. They've got some really good attacking options. You know, Promise Amachere, Musquay, Carlos Mendes Gomez, who was from Luton. It was amazing for Morecambe the year they came up. So, yeah, no, Highbury's a difficult place to go. And on a Tuesday night when you've travelled, you know, the amount of miles you guys have done to get to the game, you've got to consider that for the players as well. So, no, all in all, a good result and a really good performance from what I've heard of John Mousinho anyway. And how is he? Ben obviously. Ben's doing all right. He's up and about a little bit more. He's aware of speaking to other people now. So I spoke to him. He was a little bit more sort of, you know, in shock, and everything was going a bit horribly. But no, the lad's on the mend, and the sooner we can get him back in at Highbury, then the better. Because, you know, the content he's made this season has gone up another level, like yourself, Tom. So all the best for Nappers, and hopefully he'll be returning to your screens fairly soon. I'm sure we will be, and YouTube will be a better place when he does. Pompey and Itmush said, what I love about these streams is all the emotions of the final whistle is gone. You settle the dust, read all the comments, and then it's your head talking, not your heart. Aaron, with your head talking, what was your reflection on our win away at Fleetwood? And as Jake's just said, it's no mean feat to go there and come away with 3 points.
Yeah, it is a hard place, especially this season, to go there. They were good, but we were dominant. Shame about the injury to Curtis. And the sending off, it was silly red card that Morrell done. Absolutely stupid. Shouldn't have happened. So, but like Brendan said, them sort of games last season and everything, we would have lost that if it was 1-0. But the team still gelled together. We did put in the shift and everything. And you got to remember, the manager hasn't really had a training session. He's probably had 1 day, 2 days training session with the lads. Yesterday we lost. Yeah, fair enough to Peterborough. But then hopefully he's got a full training session this week to actually get his ideas into the team. It's a big loss. We lost Curtis because he's actually come back. He's got his mojo back, and then he rolled his ankle and everything. And luckily he's only out for a couple of weeks, not a couple of months. What I've actually heard on the news and from Portsmouth as well. Big miss with the players yesterday, and then hopefully we can actually find out what's going on with our injured players to get these back. Because we have got such a good team. It's just the confidence is down. With them 2 wins we had, the confidence was building again. But then hopefully, we can have the training session this week and then go on from there. But I was very impressed with the team and the attitude. Even when we went down to 10 men, we still had the fight in us to actually push it. There was a couple of decisions against us, but refs in this league are always bad anyway. So, yeah.
Look at the guys above us.
We're going to get to chat to about the referees as well, and I'm sure that will form the basis of a lot of our discussion about the Peterborough game. Rita, word or two on, I know it's kind of using an umbrella term, but teams such as going away to Fleetwood on a Tuesday night, going away to Accrington on a Tuesday night, you know, how important is that to pick up 3 points? Because the mammoth midweek trips are a challenge in themselves to the players physically and mentally, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we've struggled in the past, obviously, especially recent results. Hence why we've now got the head coach in charge now. So you just know anywhere you travel, let alone being all the way up to Fleetwood, gone past Blackpool on a Tuesday night, you just know these results you have to dig deep to get anything out of them, as we've already discussed. So, yeah, on reflection, when you think about the whole season, every single fixture, when you look out for these Tuesday nights against, no disrespect, the lower side of the league, it's so important to, yes, concentrate on picking up points around the playoff teams, which is obviously the idea to, get an opinion on if you're going to make it or not. But when you can't take teams like Fleetwood, Morecambe, Lane lightly.
Absolutely. Barry's asked about the transfer deadline window. That's going to form part of our discussion later on in the hour. And Barry's also asked, was it a penalty? And that is the perfect timing for us to get on and chat about that. Before we do get into our Peterborough discussion, let's quickly remind ourselves of yesterday's trip to the Posh.
Good evening, Andrew!
Yeah, good evening, Tom. Looking forward to this one.
Peterborough are always a goal rush side. They always concede. So if we get one, then momentum, get another one in front of us, I'll take a 2-2 at this point.
Has to give the goal. No. I think he's had an absolute stinker from what I could see.
It looks like the decision's been given on an offside on Dane Scarlett, and yes, when the ball is played, he is in front of the second last defender, granted. Yeah. However, there is no genuine attempt to play the ball from Dane Scarlett, and in my opinion, the goal should stand.
On that second half performance, I've got confidence in the lads moving forward in the rest of the season, that clearly the half-time team talk worked and there's confidence again in the team. We're scoring goals, that's evident from the last 3 games. Yes, it's a defeat, but we go again, don't we?
And go again we will, and we will be chatting about the next time we do go again, which is Barnsley in about half an hour's time. We'll be joined by Taylor, who's a Barnsley fan, to chat through all of that. Good evening to you. If you just joined us, 200 of you join us across YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for being with us, and welcome to 4-0 Sunday Live. And as Pepe's quite rightly said, the concourse is in full voice. And actually, we should probably mention that, Mike. You wouldn't have seen that 3 weeks ago on an away trip, perhaps.
What, the concourse?
As in
the fans singing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I get what you mean now. No, most probably on. It would have most probably been a lot more subdued. Yeah, I think Exeter when we started to turn it round a little bit, and the fans were getting back behind the team, and I think that's where it really started. And then obviously up to Spurs, and we had a good, what I would say, a good showing at Spurs, and the fans were doing okay. And then obviously come back and we got those results there, took it back down again. So you can be a bit surprised, but the feel-good factor returns instantly with Pompey. I'm sure it does. The first win that we've had, and then the second win that we've had, things are going great. So you go to a place that we know is going to be difficult at Peterborough, and you want to enjoy the day, you want to enjoy being with your mates and having a couple of beers. And I'm not surprised that carried on. Let's see what happens on Saturday at Fratton Park. I mean, I think we'll be all right. It's really when the away games that you get a chance to do that in the concourses. Yeah, it wouldn't have seen it 3 weeks ago. You're quite right. Sorry, I missed you.
That's all right, no problem. I'll come back to you on the next bit, which is probably going to take us a little while to get through. And I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this, because it's obviously something that everyone's talking about, questioning whether Dane Scarlett's going for the ball or not. James on Facebook reckons that it shouldn't have been disallowed. And Pepe's voice hasn't recovered, and I thought that'd be the case, which is the reason why he doesn't join us on the panel tonight. There we go.
But
Brendan,
we all saw him in the video, though, didn't we?
We did, yeah, absolutely, yeah, front and centre. Brendan, talk us through the disallowed goal incident. And then, whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem to be anyone who can 100% get behind the call to rule the goal out. And when that's the case, it normally means that an incorrect call has been made. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was very, very dubious that the linesman, if he thought Scarlett was offside, he would have put his flag up straight away. And if he thought he was interfering with that, his flag would have gone up straight away. You know, and if the referee was thinking about a foul, then why did it take him so long to give it as a foul? You know, but I think they've come out and the fourth official told Messino he gave it for the offside. Again, it's very weird that it's taken that long to sort of make a decision that he was offside and interfering.
Was he?
I don't think he was. You know, I think he's been pulled to the ground. And if you say they're both holding each other, then it's not. If they're both holding each other, then it's not a foul either way, because it's 6-1, half a dozen the other, whatever it is. I think if that is in the Premier League with VAR, you know, if you look back at Rashford's goal he scored against Man City, he's literally chased the ball the whole way. In my eyes, he's interfered, but just because he hasn't touched the ball, that means he hasn't interfered. So it's one way for the Premier League and VAR, one rule for the rest of the Football League. So, you know, and different on a Sunday morning as well. So it's hard to keep up with all these rule changes when everyone hasn't got the same blanket law across the rule.
I think it's not about the offside. I think it's about the foul that happened. And I think even though Madley didn't give it there and then, once he's talked to the linesman, and I appreciate the linesman's flag did go up, but it was well after the time of the incident and everything like that. So I'm just wondering whether the referee's put his flag up that he thinks, oh, come on, I think there's an incident there, and he goes over and talks to him, and it's a foul. Until referees come out and explain certain decisions, whether they ever will, whether they ever get mic'd up like rugby referees, and I believe they should. We should hear what the referees are saying on commentaries, or certainly come out after games. I think it possibly could be to do with a foul in the build-up to that game and to that incident.
I think, sorry to go against what you're saying, Mike, but I think it was the offside that was the decision that was given.
I know they're talking about it, and that's what John said after the game. If it was given for offside, then that's wrong. It shouldn't have been.
Reece, it was difficult to judge, and I think this is the reason why some of the confusion's come about, because there is really no real way of knowing why the decision was made. Obviously, we were stood there in the stands and we were celebrating and whatever, and you're kind of missing what's going on. Watching it back, what irritates me is that you can see Bobby Madley actually gives it. You know, when they turn around and point to the centre spot, meaning goal. And it's only actually when the goalkeeper goes over to the lino on his near side, plants the seed in his mind, and that then in turn provokes the discussion. So, you know, and I was sat there afterwards, and Pompey and Itmush made a comment about how you sit there and you think with your head, not your heart. If Matt Macy had gone over to the lino in the first half and go, oh, he was offside when the ball was played in past Towler and Raggett, you know, maybe, is there the argument that maybe that one would have been chalked off as well? I was going to talk to you specifically about being in the stands. We didn't have a clue, and there was no one around us, and there wouldn't be, would there, that reckoned that should have been given as a goal. But we were completely left in the dark, weren't we?
Yeah, and it obviously gave us a little bit of a glimpse of what it's like to be in a situation with VAR as such, where we celebrated, showed loads of limbs, and then 2 seconds later had it chalked off. That's what it felt like, obviously, after all of that. And you just think, and I know I spoke to you at the time, Tom, about it, just like, how's your luck sort of situation, where obviously we had that disallowed. And like you say, from our point of view, where we were in the stands and we could see clearly from behind the goal, there was about 3 or 4 instances, you know, beforehand where there could have been about a couple of penalties given to us before the goal even went in. which is like, and the one time that it could only go against us is if the lino put his flag up, which again was very late. And as you've mentioned, the referee already awarded the goal. So he's clearly unsure. The lino's clearly unsure. And like you say, has been influenced by the goalkeeper coming over there, which obviously is completely unacceptable. And it obviously brings up the debate as to the refereeing levels that is in this league, and not just our league.
And Tom, sorry, before you shoot on, it takes me back to the Josh Koroma goal he scored against MK Dons when the liner put his flag up when Koroma was onside, and the referee blew his whistle before the ball hit the back of the net to make his decision. So Madley's played it on, so he potentially could change his mind. Whereas the referee, was it Simon Allison in that game or whoever it was in that game, they blew up before the ball even hit the net, so we didn't have that chance to challenge it. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of the referees being biased towards any particular team. I just think they're crap at the moment. They're terrible. They're not fit for purpose at all. Yeah, and if they get paid any money for that, they should have it taken off them.
The concerning thing is, if you know your referees, you'll know that Bobby Madley was actually quite a lot higher than his current position a little while ago, and actually he's recently been promoted back to Select Group 2 as well by our friend Mr. Webb. So there we go. And I hope if he was watching that performance yesterday, he might have second thoughts. Jake, Mike's mentioned there that the actual standard overall of referees at this level, and I know me and you have had conversations in the past when your beloved Lincoln City have been absolutely crikey, sorry, rude word nearly came out then, done up a kipper by a refereeing decision. With your neutral hat on, and I know you have a very small Pompey hat that you can sometimes don a little bit, what do you reckon? Goal, no goal, correct to be ruled out, incorrect?
Tom, that Pompey hat disappeared when you sacked Danny Cowley, unfortunately. Listen, I don't think I'm going to make many friends here. I can understand why the referees called the goal off. I personally, I understand where the point is coming from. That Dane, if you're comparing it to the Bruno Fernandes goal in the Manchester derby, where Rashford has clearly altered the movement of the Manchester City defenders, I think Dane Scarlett kind of dictates the way of where the Peterborough players are positioned, and if they're dragged to the floor, etc. Then I can understand why, because he's then interfered with play. But I can understand also as a Pompey supporter why you'd be fuming if the referee is given the goal, and then a goalkeeper's gone over and sort of made the liner think about it twice. So look, yeah, I can understand if from on a neutral sort of point of view. Dane Scarlett has either brought there's been a collision which has altered the Posh defenders' movements, which is why the liner has then stuck his flag up, and which is why the goal's been disallowed. And I'm really sorry, all of you, because I really like all of you, but I just think that's what the PGMOL will go behind, etc. So, yeah, sorry guys.
That's okay. I'll challenge you on it.
Yeah.
So that Bruno Fernandes one with Marcus Rashford was subject to a VAR check by Michael Oliver, and it was deemed that Rashford hadn't altered the course of play, although he'd literally been stood over the ball.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
I think, well, that's actually a good point of yours.
Man United.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's there's I suppose it's not fair to say to a group of Pompey fans, but it's higher stakes in Manchester derby. Maybe it's the occasion. It's only, well, I say only for you guys. It's the absolute world. It's Posh Pompey. It's it's a different situation, and I think everybody sort of come to the conclusion that goal should have been chalked off. I think VAR and the referee on the day completely got it wrong, and I think that's all been cleared up. And that would be my counter. I think that decision was wrong, even though they had all the technology, etc. to try.
What gets me, Jake, though, is who are the referees accountable to? Because it's not to the FA, because the FA back them. There was talk that when Wayne Rooney was playing for Man United, that you can't send Wayne Rooney off because there's thousands of people here have come to see him play football. I mean, things like that happen, which they do. Then we've got to. But somebody's got to be accountable.
I would agree, which is why me and Tom have certainly had this conversation, and me and Napper several times, that the officials in this league to officiate professional footballers need to be professional officials. You're completely doing the players a massive injustice by making the officials part-timers, and you can sort of tell because we had a referee on Saturday who was maybe 30, 20 yards behind play because of his beer belly or whatever it was. So, I agree with you, Mike, that they have to be accountable to somebody, and ultimately, hopefully,
but they don't appear to be, because nothing seems to be getting any better. And I mean, the amount of fans that you hear from all over League One, now obviously League Two, it will be very much the same. As do they not listen to us? Do we have to go and protest at the FA to get these sort of things sorted? I don't know.
I think in the interest of neutrality, we don't know what kind of conversation was had between the referee and the lino. There might have been something that the referee's actually got in the back of his mind and saying, actually, no, I've seen this. What did you think? We can be pretty clear, though, that the keeper did, had he not made a scene about it, then the conversation would have likely not taken place.
I'd
Aaron,
also say, Tom, just quickly on that, I know obviously the whole discussion around this and the debate about the offside, or if it was offside, who was in play, who was not in play for it all. If the lino had made his decision very quickly, we would not have had the limbs for a start, because that was about 3 minutes after the actual whole situation took place. And obviously Pompey fans would be more aware to not get bulked up and ready for limbs in the first place. So if the lino had made a decision and wasn't hesitant with it in the first place, we wouldn't have this discussion as in depth.
Yeah. Aaron, what's your view on the whole thing?
Well, what I've seen on the reports and the replays and everything, it's difficult, but it should have been allowed. I think what they should actually do now is there needs to be rule change for players running up to officials and everything. They need to stop it, because they seem to be influencing the decision making. So there should be some like yellow card or anything for anyone that actually runs up to the refs and actually tries to make their decisions for them. They're in charge. They have the last say. I know there's quite a few things going through the FA at the moment with changes to the officiating. Hopefully they can all be mic'd up and everything as well. And then with the VAR in Premier League, they're supposed to be actually commenting later on to actually explain why their decisions. But I think if players are running up to officials during the game after they've made a decision, I think if they get punished with a yellow card or anything, it will actually deter the players from doing it. So then it just leaves the referee and the linesman to make up their own mind. But if you're getting shouted at by a goalkeeper or even 6 defenders, it's going to actually change your mind, and it will change your mind. It was a big game yesterday, Peterborough and Portsmouth. It has been over the last few seasons. It has been outstanding games of football between us. But yeah, there should be. I've just seen a comment. There should be gamemanship between everyone really, and the players need to back off from the officials. The managers can have words with the 4th official, and I think the 4th official told John it was offside. But that's fine. He's the manager and the 4th official. But when you've got players running up to him, I think that needs to stop, because it's just any sort of decision now, it's just going to make it 10 times worse.
That's what they do in rugby, can I just say as well, is that they allow the captain of the team to have a word with the referee for that respect to the whole of the squad. Whereas if a player is arguing with a decision or any position whatsoever on the pitch, they will be penalised. And obviously that then stops a lot of players from arguing and letting the game play out. Whereas obviously in football, you can clearly see the impact it's having without any consequences.
Yeah, this is the concern, isn't it? And it actually feeds into what Dan's been saying. A lot of the modern law change has been made refereeing subjective and open to interpretation. That's part of the problem. And it also actually creates a loophole, doesn't it, for this? Oh, whatever, and there always seems to be, whether it's VAR or not VAR, there's always seems to be that little in law or whatever it is that actually, there's always going to be that, oh, that's why it's been given, or that's because there's that little quirk in the rule book. But there we go. The issue is as well, and I know Jake was saying that it's, the Pompey, Peterborough, Manchester United, whatever, and it obviously, and Aaron's been saying that it's Pompey, Peterborough. My concern with the correct circumstances, Brendan, 2-2, given the mountain we gave ourselves to climb in the first half, it's a really positive result. And then if you're then pushing from 2-2 to get 3-2 and go on to get the winner like we were doing, maybe there's that extra 5% wind in your sails, and we could be talking about a completely different outcome.
Definitely, 100%. If we got that goal, as I said, if we get that goal earlier, obviously the goal that was disallowed, Then we get that second one that was like a couple of minutes afterwards. Then you have got the extra bit of time to push on. Peterborough will be on the back foot. We're really pressing on them, trying to get that winner. And as you said, we're most likely, not 100%, but you've got that extra bit in you to get the ball over the line, and you're way in sucking the ball into net, like the newspaper like to say, and we would have done.
Mike, we were having a chat before we went on. You don't actually think it was a penalty either, do you?
Well, no, I thought it was very, very soft. I don't. Was it on the line? If it's on the line, it's in the box, isn't it? That's what they say. Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think it was a penalty. I might be going against the grain here, but yeah, that's what it looked to me.
It looked pretty bang on from where we were sitting, Reese. I don't know if the iFollow camera angle does it justice.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely. And the only, I suppose that's where VAR wins the argument, isn't it? With having multiple cameras and a long old look on things. It is clumsy. I think everyone can agree that he does go in there. My dad was quite adamant, and he may join us later. He may not. He's currently eating at the moment, so we'll see. But he will probably come on and give you an impassioned debate. He doesn't seem to think it is. He thinks that it's not a penalty. My initial reaction, and I said it in the video, was that it was a penalty. Bobby Madley looked like he was pretty sure that it was a penalty. And from our point of view, you can't really argue with that, can you?
No, and obviously we saw Swanson going in for the first tackle in the first place. And obviously, there was arguments at the time that maybe the first one could have been given. After obviously looking at replays, he clearly done well to win that. But because then he's trailing back and obviously in a rush, he has gone in and there has been contact made and it's inside the line. So I don't really think, from my point of view, from where we were, you can argue too much, because if there's any form of contact, albeit obviously, there is the debate, is there enough for him to go down? He still won the ball clearly and it was inside the box. So I don't think there's much argument.
Well, ladies and gents, perfect timing. Good evening. Welcome. Pen, not a pen?
Definitely 100% not a penalty.
Is that because you've got that badge on there? Or?
No, it's not. It's because Swanson won the first ball, then he won the second ball, and he won the ball both times. The ball trajectory goes away from the player. He goes down like a sack and wins himself a pen. Robbed. I personally think that's how I saw it, Tom. And I've watched it 18 times now, and each time it tells me it wasn't a pen.
What about the goal disallowed?
I can't see what's wrong with that either.
Would you mind just to move touch to your left? I'd be really grateful.
I'm not a bit biased, obviously, because I wear the right colour, but I'm just, honestly, you know me, I've been honest all my life about football. If we're playing rubbish and we deserve to lose the game, then we deserve to lose it. I didn't think we did yesterday. I thought we did enough to at least come away with a point, especially in the last half an hour. That's what I'd say. And I think the ref was in 3 yards from where both fouls were, an alleged offside, when Hackett scored. And he was 3 yards away from the incident. Then he went and asked the linesman who's 40 yards away. I don't understand what's going on there. That's beyond me.
Jake, pen or not a pen?
I think it's difficult because obviously I've watched it also on the iFollow camera kind of angle, and it's difficult to decipher whether the contact's made in the box, outside the box. I actually agree with Andrew. The ball trajectory actually does change. However, the argument you could then say is that maybe he's gone through the player to get the ball, and that's why the ball trajectory's changed. So, look, I wasn't there in the moment like you guys were, and I've only watched it back once, whereas, Andrew just said he's watched it back 18 times. Unfortunately, Zach Swanson gave the official a decision to make, and as we've just spoken about with these officials, that's a really stupid thing to do, because 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, they'll get it wrong. So, yeah, I think from a professional point of view, Swanson probably, does he need to make the tackle? Is the player good at directly affecting the goal? Perhaps not. It's difficult. But for me, if I've got to say, I would, if I was the referee, I probably wouldn't have given it. Personally,
Wouldn't.
No.
Aaron, bit of a lack of experience from Swanson with what Shake's talking about there to give that kind of put a clumsy challenge in like he did.
Yeah, it was clumsy. But I think I've only seen it on like replays and everything. I think if anything, it was literally on the line. But I don't think it was a penalty. I think he got the ball first and then he followed through. So it's just it's difficult. Yeah, but I don't personally. I would love it to say penalty, but today I'm going to say no penalty.
Okay, well that's it's interesting because I thought it would be more people saying that it was a penalty.
What about the rest of the gang? What about little Reese? What did he say? I didn't get his.
Well, obviously because I was with Tom at the time, I haven't actually, to be fair, I admit I haven't looked at too many replays. Like for example, you have, Andrew, and things. So, and I was with Tom behind the goal, and we only obviously get it in live time. So, and from our point of view, when we were there, with our natural reactions in my head straight away was like, yeah, that's going to be given as a penalty, and look what happened. So I haven't looked at too many replays. You guys have gone in more depth about it. You've analysed it a lot more than I have. But from my point of view, from where I was just behind the goal, I could clearly see that Swanson was rash with it, and I could honestly see why it was given. But that's only from one replay and lifetime.
Yeah, and from it being live, from where we were stood, it actually, he doesn't come directly from behind him, but he does kind of club his foot round a little bit and catch him awkwardly, which I think, it gives the impression that it you can probably see why it's been given. Right, okay, well let's move on.
What did Brendan say, Mike?
You didn't catch the first bit, did you? Mike's with you. He doesn't think it was a penalty.
Right,
Brendan, did we get a thought on you, pen or no pen?
Yeah, I think I can see from your angle why it might have been given as a penalty, and from the TV screen at the time, it did look like it from what I originally saw. But seeing what Pepe put in the live chat, I'm with him. He didn't need to make that tackle at all. He shouldn't have made the tackle. So
what I would say, guys, is we will get some like that against us this season, and we'll win some like that against us this season. So it's going to round itself up at the end of the day. So I think it's just disappointing that we've come away from what was a good second half performance. And I think we could have gone one and up in the first half, couldn't we, with that one chance we had? So it's one of them.
I just think, Andrew, I'm glad that we're not beating Swanson up about this, because he's one of the most improved players of this season, but to make this into an issue is more. My issue is with the referee, and it's not whether it, not about the players at all. And which I know we haven't made it. I don't want it to turn into that, because he's been absolutely brilliant. But for us so far this season, when he's come in and taken over from Rafferty and all that. But I think we're going to have a split down the middle on all of us on this decision. But it's the refereeing again, I'm afraid.
And as I said, as we started the conversation about this, when there's a split, there's sometimes a little bit of an inkling as to whether the decision was probably the incorrect one or not the correct one. Right, we'll come back to this conversation in just a moment. I want to talk about the wider implications of the Peterborough game as well. Before we do so, we're going to hear from a gent who sadly can't be with us this evening. He's otherwise engaged. But here were Gaz's thoughts after both the Fleetwood away game and Peterborough on the road.
Evening, Tom. Evening, everyone else on the stream. How is everyone on this fine Sunday evening? It's a shame about yesterday, but at least we got a good result on Tuesday, which was good. Fleetwood away. Thoughts go to Ben and his family and friends. Obviously, he's a YouTube part of the family. We wish him well. Hope he gets well soon. Yeah, so 2-0. Good result. Basically, the honeymoon period ended yesterday with Peterborough. I mean, you play Fleetwood, you get 7 shots on target, and then you play Peterborough, slightly better team. Well, again, a bit more organised. And they got that bounce back effect as well with the new manager coming in. So yeah, tough game yesterday. 70 minutes we were huffing and puffing. Not sure about the goal being disallowed. Maybe you can talk about that. I'm guessing you probably talked about that anyway in the stream, but I'm interested to hear other people's views on it that were actually there at the game. On the iFollow, it didn't look clear and obvious why it was disallowed. I know they said it was offside, but I didn't see an offside. But anyway, got back in that own goal against Thompson. It's a shame we didn't push on, probably run out of steam at the end, but at least we've got a week now on the training pitch. He's had a bit of a whirlwind week, shall we say, old John Messinio coming in. And the good thing is about playing Barnsley on Saturday is that I think they play on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, so there could be a bit lethargic maybe against us on Saturday. So maybe that puts us in a bit of a good stead for this week. I'm sure tactically we'll have some players back maybe. Obviously we missed morale yesterday. When Pack has a bad day, basically the midfield didn't get run properly yesterday. It's a shame, really. Let's face it, we got 6 points from 3 games. You know, it's a good January at the moment. So let's hopefully push on for the next few games. Some big games coming up, and obviously we've got the closing of the transfer window coming up. So yeah, hopefully we can get some players in, players out. What's everyone's thoughts on players coming in, possibly players going out? Everyone has opinions, everyone has views. But yeah, I wish you all the best, and hopefully see you all at a game soon. Take care, lads, boys, girls, everyone. Bye.
So that was Gaz's thoughts. And just one more quick point before we then go and speak to Taylor, who is a Barnsley fan. He's going to join us to preview the game next weekend. Mike, I'll come to you on this one. And we've spoken at lengths about the roller coaster ride that is following this football club, and many of our viewers out there tonight will probably be thinking that they've seen this time and time again. You mentioned it earlier on. This is classic Pompey, 2 wins that give us hope, and then all of a sudden all that hope comes down like a lead balloon, like it did yesterday. So what are your thoughts? Are you thinking this is too early to try and make a decision about this current Premiership, or are you kind of thinking, yeah, well, we're kind of used to this by now?
Yeah, well, it depends how long you've been around, doesn't it? As you say, you do get used to roller coaster rides with Pompey. I think you get it with most football clubs. I don't think it's just us, but it's because of our fan base that I think it can be a bigger ride than a lot of other clubs, with the amount of support that we get. But I mean, you remember, I've said it before, the Stockport days when there's only 8,000 of us there, and we kept the team going throughout the whole. We sang all the way through that game, all the way through almost half time as well. It comes and goes. It comes and goes. Even when you go to the Premiership, you actually will have good times and you'll have bad times. Unless you've got ranks, loads of money thrown at you like the big Premiership boys. I think. I mean, look at Sheffield United today down at Wrexham. They took quite a few people down with them, but their game was certainly a roller coaster. I know it's the FA Cup and it's slightly different, but when you come up against big teams that have been in the big leagues, like your Derbies and your Ipswich and Bolton and teams like that, and Wigan go back last season. You're gonna. They're up and down. We're up and down. It will always be, and it's football, and that's what makes it such a great game. I think you take the rough with the smooth. You stick with your team. You support your team through thick and thin, and we always have done it, Pompey. And I'm sure every other team does exactly the same with their loyal supporters.
Barry said 221 watching, only 40 likes. What should everyone be doing, Andrew?
Liking it, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to ask you similar question to what I asked to Mike, really. You know, it's a bit of classic Pompey. We obviously thought we were unlucky yesterday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Tom, I just think, I think Mike mentioned it and a couple of lads, and there's certainly in the notes that are coming through from people, the messages, everybody in League One are questioning the referee standards in this league, aren't they? They are proper poor, aren't they? We've seen some terrible mistakes, for both sides. Maybe they'll level themselves out because all referees are poor in this league. So maybe maybe then we'll get the rub of the green sometime. Maybe against Barnsley.
Bearing that in mind, we still gave ourselves too much to do within 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, then Peterborough are a championship side, aren't they? They're not only mugs, are they? We expect them to be there or thereabouts. If you take over the 3 games that we won the 2, and Exeter are no mugs, they're a good outfit. And I think Fleetwood are a good little team as well. So there's 3 good teams there we've played against. So we're not talking about any of those teams are any poorer than us or better. So if you said to us beginning of the last week, 6 out of 9, we'd have taken that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm quite happy with it, to be fair.
Should we chat Barnsley?
Yes, let's talk about
that wasn't a rhetorical question. I was hoping everyone would go, yeah, let's talk about Barnsley. Before we do so, let's take a look at what's upcoming for Pompey over the next couple of weeks. As we're about to chat about, Barnsley will make the trip from Yorkshire to Hampshire next weekend. Plymouth against Pompey is getting closer and closer, just under 2 weeks to go now until Green versus Blue on the Devon coast. The team that put 2 past Oxford United yesterday, Burton Albion, return the favour of a Tuesday night trip in a few weeks' time. Valentine's Day, that one is. Pompey then travel to Jake's beloved Stintill Bank, followed by back-to-back home league games, Cheltenham Town and Bolton Wanderers. Taylor, good evening to you, mate. Welcome along. Nice to have you with us. How was the holiday?
Oh, it was very good, thank you, mate. Not very happy to be back in England with the horrible weather, but hopefully back to seeing some football soon.
For those that don't know, Taylor's spent a week or so in Tenerife, so to be back in the dreary, I remember coming back myself from there, mate, straight back to Morecambe. So I know how you feel. Obviously, big game, big trip for you next weekend. You haven't played for a little while because you've had a couple of postponements. So just tell us how things are at Barnsley right at this moment. What can Pompey fans be expecting from 7 days' time?
Well, there's a mixture of opinions going around the Barnsley camp, obviously. We hadn't played in a few weeks. We had fans that got all the way down to Exeter on a Tuesday night, and it got postponed like an hour and a half before kick-off. Luckily, I was away, so I didn't have to go through that pain of travelling all the way down there. And then we was obviously meant to play Sheffield Wednesday, big rivals yesterday. That got postponed because they obviously got through to the next round at Cup. And then, like one of the other lads mentioned earlier, we've got obviously Oxford coming up midweek, so I've got to travel down to Oxford Wednesday night and then down to Pompey Saturday. So there's some miles coming in and there could be a lot of tired legs. Yesterday we had an in-house friendly because our game got postponed and we had one player get stretched off with gas and air and 3 other players limp off. So that's not put us in a good state. January transfer window, we've signed 2 free agents and we've signed one guy from the Irish League for £20,000. So the league table looks good, but behind the doors, there's not so much positivity at the moment, Tom.
I tell you what, you don't get that anywhere else, do you? But 4-0 Sunday Live, if you want a comprehensive view of what's going on at the opposition club at the moment. Well, that's obviously good news, and Jake's in the dark completely now. It's obviously good news from our point of view. Having said all of that, Taylor, you still occupy the final playoff spot that's currently available. And Jake's got his lights back. He's having some serious issues over there. You've still got your final playoff spot, 6th place, and you've been in and around the playoffs. You've been higher than 6th place already this season, so things aren't going too badly for you, are they?
No, from how our fans are always mainly negative, but the league table looks a lot better than what it feels. We've still got a lot of games in hand. Obviously, some of them games in hand are against the likes of you and Sheff Wednesday, so it's very tough. But it's just the negative transfer window has obviously not made us too optimistic. But like you say, we are still 6th, we are still in a strong position. But it seems the same every year with Barnsley. No matter how bad or how good we're doing, there's always negativity around the club. I try to see the positive side, like you say, we're still sat in 6th. We've been in the playoff places for quite a while, but it's just with how we've not got the best squad depth, so a lot of fans can see us fading off towards the end of the season because we had a bit of consistency earlier on, but recently it's dropped off where we lost back-to-back games, and it's very up and down emotionally for our fans, so it's an interesting one.
What are you expecting from this revitalised Pompey team under John Massinio?
Obviously, you guys went through a tough patch. Obviously, got rid of your beloved Danny Cowley. I don't know how you say it. I apologise. You've got your new guy in. I'll be honest, I didn't know who this guy was before he came in. But like you guys are saying, he's come in. Has he been in for the last 3 games where you've won 2 and lost 1? Yeah, so you haven't done too bad under him. I'll be honest, I haven't really watched any of your games, so I'm not sure.
He's been on holiday, everyone. Don't blame him. Don't blame him.
Yeah, so I don't know if your playing style's changed or not, but results-wise, it's been looking better. And obviously, from what I've heard from you guys tonight, it seems a lot more positive. So it's obviously going to be a tough game down at your place. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Jake, Pompey Barnsley on paper looks like a top of the League One clash, and it's actually one of those games that's been, the away game for certain is being rearranged, and it's interesting to still having not played them at least once at this stage in the sort of tail end of January, heading into early February. With your League One hat on, it's a crucial one. What do you expect? 2 teams going at it gung ho, trying to play football the right way?
Yeah, it's difficult. I've seen both sides so far this season. Obviously, Taylor will know when I saw Barnsley at Oakwell when we beat them 1-0. Wasn't the best show in that night. And then, you guys under Massinio are resurgent. I think I know you had the disappointment of Saturday, but you guys said the last 30 minutes was a massive positive, and if you can take that into a Fratton Park where you've won 2 out of 3 games before, then I think the Fratton crowd is going to be difficult. Obviously, Barnsley went on that really good run at the start of the year, and they've sort of, like you said, they've not played. They dipped off a little bit. I think, contrary to what Taylor said, I think Barnsley have actually had a really good window. I think Max Waters is a really clever addition at League One level. I think he's someone that Pompey are going to have to look out for. So, Yeah, it could swing either way. I'm probably going to back a draw at this point, I think, which I think would be a decent point for Pompey. Obviously, Barnsley are one of those sides that have been in and around the top 6 for, probably 2 or 3 months now. So it would be a good test to see, how far you've actually come in the short space of time for Massini. It would be your biggest test. So for me, I'd probably stick my neck out and say 1-1.
Aaron, Jake's talking about a test there. Barnsley at Fratton Park and then Plymouth at Home Park is a really key 7 days for Pompey. What do you see us getting out of those 2 games?
This is going to be interesting week because Barnsley have got a game midweek. We've just got training all week, so it's his very first week of full training. I think we'll probably get a result against Barnsley, to be honest. It's not going to be a walk in the park, that's for sure, but it depends on their starting 11 as well. Like he just said that a player got stretchered off and a couple of injuries. So they're not in a good place at the moment. So hopefully we turn the tables, but it's still going to be a hard game. Barnsley are no mugs or anything. They are where they are. They're 6th in the league at the moment. So, but I think with Barnsley, I think it would be about 2-1 to Pompey. Because we got Morel back as well. So we missed him on yesterday. So we definitely need to get straight back into the team. But with Plymouth, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. They're absolutely phenomenal this season. Home and away, absolutely phenomenal. It does scare me. A couple of weeks ago, if you said we're playing Plymouth next week, we would have been absolutely mauled. But he's got a couple of weeks now to actually sort out the team and everything to get that good formation played. I'd be happy with a draw with Plymouth, but I think we need to win against Barnsley.
Dylan said, this one's for you, Taylor. Barnsley players to watch out for on Saturday. Who are we expecting to cause us problems at Fratton Park?
Based off recent weeks, I'd say obviously James Norwood's got his shooting boots back on. He's scored a couple in the last few. He's seeming more confident with a nice little cheeky overhead kick against Accrington. That was nice. And the main man to run the show in the midfield, Luke O'Connell, we signed him on a free in the summer. He's been one of our most effective players. So I'd say them 2 are the key ones to watch out for.
Reece, challenging trip for Barnsley or a bit of a struggle at Fratton Park for Pompey? What do you reckon?
Again, actually, it's like what Aaron said. If it was a couple of weeks ago, then yes, I would say it would be a struggling fixture for Pompey at Fratton. But off of the recent performances, especially the second half of Peterborough, I'm confident going into it that we could obviously get a really good result against them.
And just finally, Taylor, because I'm aware we want to get on and chat about some January transfer rumours for Pompey, and I know you've got a life to get on with. You don't want to spend all night on a Pompey stream with us. So what would be your score prediction? And as we should say as well, we got Barnsley on tour. We're looking forward to doing a bit of content together next weekend as well. So make sure we plug that. Tell us a bit about your channel and give us a score prediction as well, mate.
Yeah, obviously Barnsley on tour. I try to do similar things to you. I go to every game. I just try to show the fans what they're missing if they can't make the game and just show them the atmosphere and all that. And obviously meet up with some good lads like you and Collab. But regarding the game, I think based off the midweek fixture that we've got, travelling all the way down to Oxford on a Wednesday night, it's not ideal for the players or the fans. And then to have to go all the way down to the South Coast on the Saturday. So like I say, I think there's some very tired legs. I'm not too confident, and I think you boys will edge it 1-0.
There we go.
Can I ask Taylor a question? Taylor, you seem to sound as though your Barnsley fans are quite a negative bunch all the time. Is that true?
Yeah, we had some last owners which were very, very wealthy owners, but you know most wealthy owners don't pump money into the club, and the ran us into a floor a bit. As you obviously last season were a very, very bad season, finishing below Derby. We had like minus 21 points. We had one of the worst January transfer windows ever. It got to the transfer window. We sold our best players, got rid of Carlton Morris, our top goal scorer, and all that malarkey. So there's been a lot of negativity. At the moment, it's a massive rebuild job for the new part owners that have come in. Obviously, Michael Duff is doing great with what he's got to work with. A very small budget. It's not all negative. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of the probably more positive people out of the fans, but over the recent years, it has been a lot of negativity around Barnsley, especially to do with the owners.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
Can I ask you as well? I was just looking through some of your stats, seeing Devante Cole's your top scorer with 7 goals. Obviously, the last game he only played 14 minutes. Is there a reason why? Obviously, your top scorer is probably not starting.
Well, he scored a few weeks ago, and I think he just went off the boil a bit. So Michael Duff were trying to mix around the front two that were playing, because I think it were last game Norwood and Aitchinson started up front, which the change actually worked because they both scored, and then Cole came on as a substitute. So I think it's more just trying to, because we came into this year and we lost our first 2 games, conceding 6 goals in 2 games and not scoring a goal. Conceded 3 to Derby and 3 to Bolton. So we were struggling to score goals at the start of this year. So I think it was more of a mix-up rather than dropping him because he's been poor, if you know what I mean.
Okay. And also seeing your back 3 of Kitchening, Anderson and Thomas, they are some big lads. They're all 1 meter 80 plus. You know, Anderson's a 1 meter 94. He's a big lad. So going to have their hands full with Colby Bishop on Saturday in particular.
Yeah. With the 3 big centre halves, very strong and good at winning the aerial battles. But if you can get the ball in behind, that'll be your best way to punish us, I reckon, because they've got the strength and they've got the ability in the air. But once you buy them, there's not that much chance going to catch up to your strikers if they've got a bit of pace.
Not very good facing their own goal then.
Not bad, but they're better with the ball in front of them.
Sounds like Dale needs to turn up for us then.
We're very much hoping he does. Taylor, thanks so much for spending some time with us, mate. It'll be back on the channel in 6 days' time. We look forward to having you. And safe journey down, mate. And I'll drop you a message off the stream. Thanks for your company.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
Take care, boys. See you then. Bye-bye.
Sorry to keep everybody. I was desperate to get on to the final part of tonight's show. We did have a few score predictions. Aaron says 3-0. We didn't say 3-0 as it goes. He went for a 2-1. Dan saying 3-1 Pompey on Saturday. And there was a comment from Dylan that I was really keen to get on there, that he mentioned if we bring the last 20 I will quote him on it because I know what he was saying. If we bring the last 20-25 minutes into Saturday, then we could be on to a winner. Right then, let's move on and let's chat about what we wanted to get on the tail end of tonight's 4-0 Sunday Live. We're of course coming to you live on Sunday night before the window closes on Tuesday night at 11. So what are we, anywhere between 48 and 52 hours left to go? Many Pompey fans out there would rightly point, Reece, to perhaps if there was a failure to address the lack of creativity and pace in this side, then that would be a real concern. Where do you think the key areas are for Pompey to strengthen?
Well, obviously we had Koroma go back, so that was one player out wide that we need to replace. Curtis has obviously recently had an injury, and we don't know how quickly it will be before he's up to speed again and obviously at his best, even though it's been a few years. Obviously, only a few weeks ago we were discussing that since his best. Also, I hear that there's rumours about obviously another centre-back coming in on top of obviously Dawes coming in. That's definitely something I would personally look into, especially going off of Raggett's performance yesterday. Enough said about that. And definitely midfield as well. You know, you've got Pack, Morel coming back as well. I'm quite confident in that department, but at this moment in time, with Mingy still out, again, it comes back to Tunnicliffe in the same category as Raggett for me, that if we're really needing to be serious about a final push for this season, we need a bit more quality in there. But yeah, you're right. We need some pace on the width. I do believe he was correct as well in saying about the strikers. I think if Piggott's back in form, he's got the confidence going again, along with Bishop, which we know he's been fantastic for us all through the season, even in our bad patches. I don't think necessarily bringing in another striker is exactly what we need. It's the providing on the wide channels is what we're after. So yeah, another centre back, somebody that's creative in midfield, and yeah, another winger.
Jake, Bailey Wright is a name that's been linked with Pompey, and it's kind of bubbled up over the last 12 hours or so as well. Obviously, Sunderland looking to bring in Anderson to shore up that defensive line for them, so potentially move on for Bailey Wright if possible. I hope everything's all right in the fish tank household. Jake, what was your what's your feeling about? It wouldn't be a 4-0 Sunday Live without a mishap or two, would it? What's your feeling about Bailey Wright to Pompey, and how much would he give us in terms of a bit of rigidity in the back line?
Yeah, Bailey Wright is a player that has played really well at Sunderland over the last couple of years. Obviously, helped them get promoted out of the division last year, which is something that you guys might be looking for. Perhaps, you know, maybe not this year, but certainly next year under Massinho. He'll provide you a bit of versatility as well. So Bailey Wright can also play as part of a back three, but can also play at right back. He came on. I think I watched the Sunderland Borough game on Sky the other week, and he certainly came on at right back due to injury. But you know, he's a big player. He played really well for Sunderland over our 2 playoff semi-final legs that we managed to squeak by him a couple of years ago. I think he'd be a good addition. You know, especially if Mousinho potentially is thinking about going 3 at the back long term, then it could be a really clever addition. So. Yeah, Bailey Wright is as I say, is a promotion winning defender, and if you've got that on your CV, which is something that you guys are massively into, then yeah, I can see it working if the deal were to come through.
Where would you strengthen bear in mind within the next 48 hours? There's not an awful lot of time to do that.
We need pace, a bit more pace, Tom. I don't know where it comes from. We need a bit more pace. Thompson needs to get back fully fit, doesn't he? We need a bit more pace, and Morel needs to be back in the side, obviously, because he's a playmaker in midfield. So we've been, I will say we, Danny Cowley era, and us are up to date. Very, very unfortunate. Ronan Curtis came in and played his best football in the last 2 games that he's played for the last 2 years, and then gets injured. So all that, and Morel's out, isn't he, for that sending off? All these things are stacked against us all the time. If the team's back fit and well on Saturday, then I think we've still got a fair chance. And I people call me Mr. Positivity, but you've got to be. There's not many really good teams in this league, not really, and there's not a lot of difference between the odd result. Plymouth have won their couple of games in the last minute goals, that sort of thing. You know, just they're not as good as everyone thinks they are, and I'll be pleased to see us beat them at home park for the first time in many years we've been going there. And I fancy it. I fancy we go down there, turn up, and give them a right old game.
You would be pleased, and that's you using the conditional tense, which is meaning you're not being delusional. Just wanted to double check.
Yes.
Lovely. Aaron, your thoughts ahead of the last sort of 48 hours going into the curtailing of the January transfer window? Many ins and outs for you that you can see come in?
I would like to see Tunnicliffe gone. He's not my favourite player at all. I've been saying that for months now. I would like to see him go, but I do want to have another defender. I need some pace on the wings. Because even though Curtis has been phenomenal last couple of games, he's not pacey enough. Yeah, we need that pace to get out wide, run through, get the crosses into the box. We haven't got that at the moment. So look at centre back, another winger. Well, a winger on both sides actually. You get really pacey on both wings. But to be a fly on Richard Hughes' office wall, it would be lovely to be there at the moment. Because we're not going to. We can all say that we want this player and that player, but until Richard Hughes announces it on the media, we won't know who's coming in. And they were very good about keeping it all in-house and everything, which is unbelievable for a change. Because over the years, everyone, and then we've been gazumped by Ipswich down the road and nicked everyone. So from us before, so it's actually nice keeping all the information in-house. Hopefully, we get a couple of players in, but 48 hours is a long time in football.
Your mate Jack from the Young Fan Podcast says, "Good evening, Andrew." By the way,
good evening, Young Fan Podcast. Well, 2 things I'd like to point out there, Tom. Somebody's mentioned that is a massive goldfish, and somebody else has mentioned it would look better covered in batter, which I think is rather interesting.
We'll stick goldfish. They're not goldfish. We'll stick to the football. Oh, would you mind repeating what you said about Jack to me when he was last on the stream as well?
Jack,
you were watching Jack downstairs, and you said how much you want him to come back on the channel.
Yeah, I thought Jack was excellent. These guys are good.
Jake's good, isn't he?
Jake's a really good lad, and a lot of time for him. Great little club link, and I've got a lot of respect for them. And the guy from Barnsley I've never met before,
Taylor,
decent guy. There's a lot of good lads. What your channel does, Tom, I think, brings a lot of good, intelligent football fans, or real fans, not thugs, fans.
Be careful with intelligent,
together, and it's bridging that gap a little bit. You know, it's making it an interesting conversation when you can bring these people together. And we met some great people along the way. So long may it continue, my friend.
Yes, Reese, thank you for your product placement. Very much appreciated. I don't know if I asked you about potential incomings. Did you have any names in mind?
Not particularly. Obviously, I was very interested to see the name of obviously Bailey Wright because much experience in the EFL, and that's somebody that stood out for me when it was named as a replacement for somebody in the defence. No, not really. I don't have any names that stand out, but obviously, if we are looking to bring in somebody, say from the Championship, it will be somebody that's out of favour or returning from injury and needs some game time or something like that. But we might go completely left field and get a really, really young player from the Premier League again, like Zach Swanson, even though he's on a permanent. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of days, isn't it, really, to find out what's going to be happening within the club. And I think the most important thing for us is what's going to happen is it's going to give us a clear understanding of what direction they want to take for this remainder of the season.
Jake's got his paper out. He's got a few potentials
here we
for
go.
us. Hit us with them, mate.
I've sort of had a look. You told me, bear in mind, I'm barely going off what Tom told me in terms of Pompey need creativity. So I've had a look at all sort of options. So I took 2 from Premier League 2, I took 2 from the Championship, and then I took 2 from League 2 that there might be potential for you to purchase. The 2 from the Premier League 2, which would be your standard loanees, like you've lost Josh Koroma. Luca Barrington was one that I quite like the look of. He's at Brighton, was drafted in from Man City in the summer. He's got 12 appearances, 4 goals and 2 assists in Premier League 2 this season. He's a midfielder, so I know you guys said you weren't massively into midfielders, but perhaps a creative midfielder. And the one that I think will be highly coveted amongst the FL clubs this window, and if not in the summer, is Ollie O'Neill of Fulham. I'm not sure if any of you guys would have heard of him. He's the real prospect of Premier League 2 this year. He's 12 appearances, 7 goals, 6 assists for Fulham, and I'd be surprised if he's not sort of loaned out to the Championship next season. So maybe you can do something similar to what we did with Brooke Norton-Cuffy of Arsenal last year. Came in, had a really good game at Fratton Park, actually, and that really, but they're sort of brainstorming 3-2 win that you got against us, and then moved on. You spoke about players in the Championship. Jordan Graham would be one that I'd be looking at if I were Pompey. He's sort of not been massively in favour at Birmingham, and when he is, they play him at a wing back. Obviously, he was electric in League One last time. I think it was 2021 when Gillingham had that really good year when they nearly got into the playoffs. 13 goals, 9 assists. The record sort of speaks for itself. Other players, Conor Mahoney, who was down the road from you, Tom, at Bournemouth. He's a really good player. Fredonia Dinmer as well is a player that's been promoted out of this division with Luton and with Wickham. And then players that I don't know if you guys have got money financially. I don't know what your financial
loads
aspects are. I've picked 2 players from League 2 that you might be able to cherry pick. Ben Whitfield, another lad from Bournemouth. He's at Barrow, 10 assists this season. He's got pedigree in League 1 as well. And the one that I think a lot of League 1 clubs should be going after is Sam Hoskins at Northampton. Likely they're going to come up, but 20 goal involvements in it so far this season, 0.75 goals a game, and 2 shots on target a game as well, which would seem to solve your creative issues. So I've given you a couple of names there. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd be interested in any of them, but there's a variety of players there that you might be interested in.
We'll have a look back in a couple of days' time and maybe a couple of weeks' time at what Jake said and see if we get any of them. There's a very small chance we might have maybe 1 or 2 of them. And there's a very small chance we might have 1 or 2 editions at all. So we're kind of hoping that it's they've been a little bit closed book on it, and you that maybe with the departure of Danny Cowley, that is something that we've seen a bit of a trajectory of. And Aaron was mentioning earlier that things are a little bit more hush-hush and closed book. Before we go, Dylan said, "Good evening, Andrew, Dad." So I don't know if you want to say hello back to him.
Good evening, Dylan, my son.
That is pretty much where we're going to leave you tonight. We'll go around the group for some score predictions from the gents. And I will say, before we get his score prediction, a massive thank you to Reese, who was also excellent on the video yesterday. You said to me this morning that how much you enjoyed.
I love little Reese.
His words to me were, Reese, he went, "Well, he's BBC, innit?" And that was it. So that's all you really need to know. Score for Saturday, Reese, and looking forward to seeing you down at the park once again, and a return to league action at home for Pompey.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, Tom, and I reckon we're going to win 2-1. I'm confident, I really am.
Mike?
Firstly, we were never asked about transfers and who we thought, but well, I'll give you a little thing. I don't think we should get rid of Tunnicliffe this window. He's come in and done a gritty job most of the time. He's come in and if he's going to be replaced by somebody better than him, then fair enough. Excuse me.
That ain't going to be hard.
Sorry?
I said that might not be too hard.
I think there's a lot of times that he actually deserves a bit of credit, and I'm not saying he's brilliant, but I'm more concerned about Dell going off form and not being well. I'd like to maybe swap him out and get somebody else in. He doesn't cross anymore. I hardly see much from him, and he trips over his own feet a lot of the time. Excuse me. As for Barnsley, I think we can use the second half of yesterday's game to our advantage in the next two games. That if the boys take those bad decisions by those referees and keep thinking about them and how bad they were, to stir them on, and I think we'll get a 3-1 win on Saturday. And I would like to think that Plymouth ain't beyond us either. I know it's hard and it's going to be hard, but we always have good games down at Home Park, and we always have good games at home against Plymouth. So yeah, there is a good chance we'll get a draw down there, or you never know, we might be able to nick something. But use yesterday's second half and go and get a 3-1 win for me.
Brendan, I apologise for not coming to you both on the transfers. What's your thoughts on Bailey Wright, just quickly, before we go back round the loop on the score predictions?
Well, if we can get him, because obviously it was on, it's off, it's all rumours at the end of the day, isn't it? Obviously, it'd be a great coup. Obviously, got promoted to the Championship with Sunderland, so there's pedigree there and definitely getting us up. So I'd love a player in with that experience. Again, it's an extra body in the building, because how we are fairly short, aren't we, with all the injuries we're getting in. It'd be good to have an extra man there. And if he's better than Raggett, then that'll push Raggett to the side. His consecutive games was a long time at probably, like, was it 45 games consecutively playing for us until he was dropped a few weeks ago. But yeah, I'll be chuffed to have Bailey Wright in. But yeah, echo what Dad said. I wouldn't get rid of Tunnicliffe unless there's somebody in to replace him, because you can't just start turfing them out. Even Kieran Freeman, we can't turf him out yet because Rafferty's not fit, and then you're short even more, unless you are going to replace him, which, as you said, with 48 hours to go, it's not looking particularly likely at the moment. Maybe with the late decision to put Messino in his position, obviously we've got Towler in, but if we're not going to have such a short period of time with him to try and pick his players, he's been too busy getting prepared for games, hasn't he? At the end of the day.
I'm pleased that we have got a lot of secrecy now around what we're bringing in, because we have had the instances where the media and other forums leak who we are likely to be looking at or who we're going for. I'd rather wait and hear the announcement. Brilliant, because they'll make the right decisions, and if not, we've just got to get on with it anyway. But I'm glad that we don't have all these names put around. But hopefully this Bailey Wright guy, he does look good, and hopefully he'll come off.
Pepe's not pleased with the closed book nature of the club at the minute, Mike, but I'm sure that's not makes his life a little bit more difficult.
Do you know what I mean?
Jake, I know
they've got to start somewhere. They've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, definitely, and it's better in the long run, isn't it? That we do have this secrecy a little bit more. Jake, I know you mentioned it when we were chatting to Taylor earlier on. I think, did you give a 1-1 as a score?
I did, yeah, 1-1.
Sticking with it despite the confidence from the rest of the chaps?
Yes, mate. Barnsley are no mugs, and I don't think they'll come to Fratton and lose, if I'm honest. They're a good team, and Michael Duff's a really good manager. So I completely understand why you guys would be massively confident, and I don't think I've made too many friends this stream, but yeah, I think Barnsley are going to come away with a point.
If and when we beat Barnsley on Saturday, Plymouth will take us more seriously. That's my point. And I think the last 4 games then, win 3, lose 1 just by 1 goal, and debatable that, as it were. Plymouth would be a little bit more worried about us then if we can put a good performance against Barnsley and beat them, because they would see Barnsley as one of their contenders, and that would worry them a little bit, I think. And they don't like us going to Fratton down to their place anyway, Plymouth.
What happened to them yesterday, Andrew? Didn't they lose yesterday?
Who?
Plymouth.
Didn't play, did they?
No, they didn't play yesterday, I don't think.
Did they not play? They played somebody the other day and lost, did they?
Someone.
Or did they? Or maybe it was a friendly. I'm not sure. Right. Okay. Sorry. I'll leave it. Right.
I think, well, the reason why I'm a bit, I don't think I've seen a Plymouth loss since the Grimsby in the FA Cup back last year, calendar year.
They have lost.
I know. Sorry to bring that up, Jay. I know I got to 1 hour 15 and hadn't mentioned it, but there we go. I don't know. Oh, Aaron is still with us. I thought he'd frozen looking like that then. You gave us a 2-1 earlier, mate. I know it's not a 3-0 like we're normally used to. But with Matt Macy between the sticks, I know we conceded 2 at the weekend. Sorry, yesterday. We're still in the weekend, aren't we? Happy weekend, everybody. Are you at all thinking maybe might keep another clean sheet at Fratton Park because he hasn't failed to do so yet? I know it's only a couple of games that he's played there.
Yeah, it's only a couple of games, but it'd be nice for him to keep a clean sheet. But I think we're going to be, because of the travelling that Barnsley have got to do, they've got to go to Oxford and then come back down to us. I've forgotten the bloke's name was on earlier on.
Taylor.
Taylor. Because, like you said, the leggy, and because they've got quite a few injuries as well at the moment. So I don't think they really want to be travelling all the way up to Oxford and then going home, then coming back down to us. And because we're staying at Fratton, in Portsmouth all week, and we got the training, I think we will win. I do think 2-1. But it'd be nice for Macy to get a clean sheet. But yeah, I think they will score. They will definitely score.
4-0?
Yeah, I fancy us to hammer this lot 4-0 and then go to Home Park and put 4 past them as well.
Job done. Simple.
And we're down there for a couple of nights as well, aren't we? So we'll have a night out.
Oh, we're down there a couple of nights. Have you booked a hotel, have you?
At least one night, yeah. But I don't know about 2 yet. But we're certainly down. We might stay and celebrate.
Okay. Go and tear up Plymouth.
We're there for 2 nights. We're there for 2.
5 years ago. It wasn't very funny.
No. Very true. Score, realistically?
Plymouth did lose to Port Vale, didn't they, recently? That was the team that beat them. You're alluding to, Mike, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But they got Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, so that'll be a tough one for them at Sheffield.
Yes, if they lose that and we beat Barnsley, a different game at Home Park, isn't it?
Yeah, they can set us up nicely.
It's all about Saturday. If they go win Wednesday and win on Saturday, which I don't think they will, to be fair. I think they're... And I do believe, and I spoke to a Plymouth fan, a very good friend of mine, a Plymouth fan who lives down in Plymouth, who we will see down there, Stuart.
Stu.
And he said they are. He said he don't know how they're doing it. They're just boxing well above their station. They aren't as good as people think they are. That's what he said to me. Exeter earlier in the season at Plymouth, didn't they? For the first half, Exeter were all over them.
Was it 2-0 up? Something like that.
They were 2-1 up, I think, at one point. 1-0, then 1 each, then 2-1. And then,
would someone mind checking that, please? Because that might not be the case.
It went horribly wrong.
I think it was, and then it
was
4-2, didn't it?
Plymouth actually beat them 4-2 in the end, but it was the last 15-20 minutes that, and Exeter were all over them in a derby game at their place. So I think, and as Stuart said, they're not as good as the table predicts, and he doesn't see them staying there. That's what he said to me. So I'm up for it. Let's get down there and sort it out.
Let's have them.
I tell you what, the one saving grace that I would say is there's very few teams that have actually taken points off Plymouth so far this season, and one of them, yes, of course, one of those teams is Lincoln City, and another team was Pompey at Fratton Park, and we were very close to taking 3 points from that game instead of just the 1. Right, that's where we're going to leave you. I had a little bit of a thought in my mind. I thought we'll keep it within the hour tonight, but we obviously haven't managed to do that because we never do, because it's 4-0 Sunday Live, everybody. So I hope you've enjoyed the extra 20 minutes that we've given you. A bumper 80-minute stream as always. Thank you for all your company. Appreciate you joining us. I appreciate your kind words about people as well, because you don't normally do that.
I do.
Well, you give credit where it's due, but
of course they're all good boys. Everyone that come onto this channel, in real life or on this stream or wherever it might be, and there's some of the great people we've met. Tom's been excellent in it. So let's keep it going, guys. Let's keep it going.
Let's keep it going. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in 6 days' time. I'm going to have a rest. I'm going to go and have some sleep. I think it's been a long week. A long week on the road. Hopefully Barnsley are feeling the same way before they come down to Fratton Park. And who knows? Maybe it's time for the first 4-0 written all over it of the season with a wink and a smile. Thanks for watching. Keep safe. And as always,
play up Pompey.
Play up Pompey. Bye from us.